Hey, Will, how you doing?
Hey Joe, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to just talk with me a little bit about your job as a funeral director, right? Is that what you are?
Yeah, that's my license title. So I am a licensed funeral director here in California. I don't do a lot of funeral directing per se. I do kind of a lot of like more back office stuff a lot of the time. But yeah, that's my title. And one of the things that I do. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So how did you even decide to become a funeral director or go into a career in death work?
It's a great question. So I think my background is a little unconventional for like a traditional funeral directing track. I studied business in college, but I actually interned at my family's funeral home in California that my aunt runs for a couple summers during my college career. So when it came time to figure out what I wanted to do when I graduated, I knew I could fall back on the family business. So it was about deciding between that and like doing a career in finance, which is what I studied. And I liked the work at the mortuary more than any type of like corporate finance job that I would have gotten. I felt though helping families was a little bit more rewarding than the alternative. So that's what led me out here to California, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's kind of interesting because I feel like your background in finance might explain why you're not like the typical funeral home, because most funeral homes want to get like the most price, for a client, but you kind of work kind of it from a financial stance. It seems like telling people, being open about your prices and stuff. How do you kind of view your role like at your funeral home and how you run it?
Well, I'd say like for me personally, I do a lot of the digital marketing for our funeral home, so like Google ads and Yelp ads. But then I also like help out in kind of an operations role, like managing our counselors and like the flow of work for our families as well. And I do some counseling myself, so like arrangement counseling for cremation arrangements. I help, probably 5 to 10 families a week, just myself. So we all wear a lot of different hats in the office, and we're all cross-trained to some degree. But we always approach whatever we do with our philosophy, which is being honest and upfront and transparent with customers about pricing for services and trying to save them money wherever possible. So we're always kind of working towards different ways that we can achieve that for our clients.
That's amazing and really helpful and, ethical, I think, which is why I typically use you guys as a referral source. So many people get caught up in the process of like pricing and non-transparency, and it's difficult for people to navigate during these times. So I love that you guys do that. Something that always comes up, like after somebody dies, is like the death certificate. And I'm not quite sure everybody like knows and understands exactly what a death certificate is and like why exactly we need them.
Yeah, so it's an official document that's produced by the health department, and it is used as proof of death for the person who it's for. And a family member or executor of a will, or whoever is helping settle the assets of that person, uses that and presents it to various types of financial institutions as proof of death to pay out or transfer deed or title of that asset to another person. So it's that official record that life insurance companies use, pension companies use, whatever institution holds like an IRA or other retirement accounts or brokerage accounts, other types of insurance policies, bank accounts, like so on and so forth. Like any financial instrument that's going to change hands, um, a lot of the time that institution will ask for a death certificate or a copy of a death certificate to be able to go through the actual process of changing that asset into another person's name or paying out that benefit to the person named.
Got it. So it's like the key to after death closure, that golden ticket. Close all that.
Yeah, close all that financial stuff, exactly. And also like change deed to a house, that take people off a deed or title, things like that too.
So it's pretty important. But when somebody comes in, it's not like they're automatically given a death certificate. What you have to fill out and register, like what's the process like, and how long does it usually take to get a death certificate?
So part of the job of like an arrangement counselor is to obtain like vital statistics for the decedent from the family. And that's like name, social security number, birthday, different like background like questions like occupation or parents' names, things like that, and to whatever the extent that the family knows. And that makes up the personal section of the death certificate. Mm-hmm. And then we also work with whatever medical team is serving to help with the causes of death, whether that be a hospice agency or a hospital or the coroner. And they help fill out the medical portion of a death certificate. And then that document goes through a few stages of approval at the local and state level health departments before it's finally registered with the state health department in Sacramento. And then it's issued like a number. And once that number is issued, we can actually schedule a burial or cremation for that person. And to get to that point, it usually takes roughly 3 to 5 days. Depending on what mortuary you use, it could take more than that, or generally not too much less than that on average.
Is that process, like, has that process been affected by COVID? Like, has it been slower getting death certificates because of the volume, or have you noticed anything?
It's gotten... I've been telling families that it can be a bit slower now. The local health departments and those government agencies that produce those documents are doing a really great job through COVID to get everything sorted out and distributed as needed. But I think that they were dealing with work from home issues and kind of workforce changes and operational changes and procedural changes, just like every other type of business was. So I imagine they're affected somewhat, but we haven't thankfully noticed a big difference in at least the death certificates getting to families in a relatively timely fashion. So it hasn't broken from anything I've seen, which is great.
That's really good. Has your facility been doing like more work since COVID? Have you had more bodies come through, or what's your workload been like?
Our workload has been steady. Actually, over the past couple of weeks, it's been a little lighter than usual. We've had a couple of COVID positive cases come into our care, and we've kind of revamped some processes to mitigate risk in those types of transportation and cremation scenarios. There hasn't been like an onslaught or an unbelievable tidal wave of deaths, at least here in Orange County and LA thus far compared to New York. So it's been somewhat manageable for us, at least personally, at the facility. So we're thankful for that.
Yeah, and I know LA and Orange County definitely had, a lot of cases of COVID reported, but it doesn't seem like, we're to the point of New York, like having those mass graves being dug. I mean, I don't even know how we get to that point. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because it's like, it's crazy to me.
I kind of answer this. I try to think of reverse engineering the scenario. So bodies would only be put in a mass grave if there was literally no other option of where to store these bodies safely or to code. So it must mean that the medical examiner's offices are full, as well as their auxiliary capabilities of storage units. Same with hospital morgues, and their auxiliary units for storage of bodies. And then also private funeral homes are full and at capacity, and whatever auxiliary containers they use for storage would have to be full as well before they start just putting people into mass graves. That would be how I would think about what the requirements would be to have to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, if you look at it, it would be some sort of reflection of the just like hospital beds. Like, if you only have so many hospital beds, like, what happens to the patients that when that number is exceeded? And same with ventilators and things like that. That's the same thing as total number of storage spaces for decedents in a certain area. Like, that's a fixed number. It's just about what number is that, and is it enough?
That's a really good, I hadn't thought about it that way. That's really helpful. Thank you. I mean, I guess that's like the scariest, to me, that's the scariest thing right now. I haven't been dealing with this kind of situation out here in LA at all, and I know you haven't either, but I mean, do you think it'll get to that point, or are we like pretty good on storage? Do you know anything about that?
I feel comfortable with our ability to have a sizable capacity, and that's also a function of how quickly we file death certificates and how quickly we can cremate in our capacity for cremations, just because we have multiple retorts, which is great. We haven't experienced any shortage of space, and during this kind of first month of this pandemic, it's given us, thankfully, some time before any of this type of thing is really needed to plan for it. So we've contacted refrigerated container companies to get auxiliary space if we needed it. So we're setting that up, putting a contingency in place should that be the case.
Wow, smart.
Yeah, and also probably dividing up those storage units between COVID and non-COVID cases to make kind of points of contact minimized for drivers and our personnel, and for our crematory staff. Like, if they don't have to interact with COVID patients, and they can sequester them in their own refrigeration unit or temperature-controlled unit, and not have to deal with them when they don't have to, that's much safer for our team, and minimizes the chance of anyone on our team, or any driver or any family member at all, to get sick. So that's kind of where our head is and how we're thinking about it.
Yeah, because we need you guys. You guys are essential workers. Without y'all, nobody's processing our dead.
Exactly. And it's not an option right now. So we got to do whatever we can to keep our doors open and keep serving families.
Yeah. Tell me, and I know you're so passionate about your work, which is why I love working with you, and you're great with families, but we'll end on like a happy note. Like, what's the best part of your job? What do you love most about your job?
I love being there for our team and navigating these new challenges together, and finding ways that we can work better together, leverage technology to keep everybody safe and to accomplish what we need to accomplish for families, making things easier on my team and families, and finding solutions that can do both at the same time, which is the best of both worlds. And I think having a team that's on board with the challenges that we're facing and coming in every day, and we're working from home, which is a big change for some of them, and just doing our best navigating that together, and just getting families through a really difficult time, because it's a difficult time right now to lose a loved one. It's all very rushed. It's very different. It's impersonal, just because of how we have to abide by safety rules. It's a bit different, but honestly, it's been nice that families and our team are all coming together and are very understanding of the climate that we're in. And it's kind of nice knowing that on a human level, we're still banding together to keep safe, and just doing what we can.
That's nice to hear. And I remember a story that you told recently about an exchange of ashes where you like had to like walk out, like put them on the ground and walk away. And like I was thinking about how much that really separates you from being able to comfort, you know, the families right now, which is a big part of what I'm coping with too, is, you know, adjusting the ways to comforting people when you're used to being able to give them a pat on the shoulder, a hug, and really look them in the eye and say, I'm sorry, you know, but I'm here to help you. But I know we're all doing our best to get by. And I think, you know, thank you so much for your information, because I think practical information is always good to have in times of emergencies. So that's why I definitely wanted to chat with you today. So thank you so much. Anything else you think is important for people to know right now, just about anything that you do?
Everyone has a role in this situation. And all we can ask of anybody is to just do what you're being asked to do. So, like for me, it's help families through the death and dying process of their loved ones through a pandemic. For you, it's the remote teaching and getting people wherever they need help, and educating them on whatever they need help with.
Yeah.
And you doing that for whoever is willing to take that advice and education. And for people who aren't in these types of industries, it's to stay home and stay safe, and not put themselves or anybody else at unnecessary risk.
Yeah.
And that's all we can ask. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Will.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jill. It's always a pleasure talking with you.